Welcome into Deep Waters here on ProBox TV, where we bring you all the breaking news Monday through Friday. All your boxing information right here on ProBox TV. Well, big one today because we have some breaking news to talk about. That's right. According to Lance Pugmire, Boxing Scene, there is now a verbal agreement between Shakur Stevenson and William Zepeda to fight, it looks like, in October in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So Gervonta Davis apparently not part of the situation right now. Zepeda stepping in. I have the names to help me break this down in Plant City. Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri, also joining us on Zoom. That's right, the coach, Teddy Atlas, to break down this new information. Gentlemen, let's start with you, Chris. Your first thoughts on it. Thought it was going to be Gervonta Davis in November. That was kicking around yesterday. Now it looks like it is going to be William Zepeda in October. Your thoughts on it, Chris?
Well, the news minute in boxing really is a minute because, as you said, we were talking about Gervonta Davis, Shakur Stevenson as of yesterday. But, I mean, this is a fight that I thought was a great idea months ago. I think that this is the kind of opponent that Shakur Stevenson really needs to showcase his skills. And he's even said that himself. This is the kind of guy that can really show the world what I got. I think if Shakur can go out there and do what he's been able to do with the other oppositions that he's had against a guy like William Zepeda, who's streaking right now, it really will put on blast everybody in the division and show the level that Shakur Stevenson is at. Not to mention the fact that Zepeda, extremely entertaining fighter. He's going to push the pace. He's going to force the action. He's going to make the fight exciting, which Shakur Stevenson really needs at this point of his career, for some performances that people have been complaining about in terms of their entertainment value. So, I mean, this fight makes a lot of sense. It's a verbal agreement, so we'll see if it actually comes to fruition because this is boxing and anything can happen. But, I mean, listen, initially, the news, I like it.
What are your thoughts, Paulie, on the challenges William Zepeda might bring as opposed to a Gervonta Davis? What does William Zepeda bring for the casual fan that maybe Shakur Stevenson has to get ready for now?
Well, I think it's the kind of opponent that each guy needs, really. I usually would be skeptical of just a verbal agreement. I usually would be skeptical that's a rumor. But when you look at the fine print here, so to speak, you realize both these guys kind of need each other. Zepeda's been climbing the ladder and is looking for a big-name opponent to where he can show that he can do what he's been doing against the very elite of the weight class. And Shakur Stevenson, who is of the elite of the weight class, a world champion in 2 previous weight classes coming up, a former Olympic silver medalist. He's already shown he's elite, but he has been having trouble getting the other elite to face him. So he also needs a guy who is looked at as a threat by the paying public, so that he can have an opportunity to showcase what he's been doing and see if he's been able to do it, if he'll be able to do it against a guy who is perceived as such a threat by the public. So both of these guys really need each other in a lot of ways, and that's why I think even though it's a verbal agreement, I'm confident this fight happens, that the politics won't get in the way, because it really isn't that much politics. Shakur is a free agent, Zepeda's with Golden Boy, but again, they both need this kind of fight, they both need this kind of opponent, so I don't see a lot of mind games being played as far as the negotiations are concerned and the contract is concerned. Plus, Turki Al-Sheikh over in Riyadh tends to know how to make these fights happen, knows how to put his money where his mouth is. So I expect to see these guys fighting in October, and it's very, very exciting. I mean, listen, Oscar De La Hoya was meeting with Turki Al-Sheikh just in the last day or two, right? We saw the post on Oscar's Instagram, if anybody noticed it. So they may have been talking about this, for example. So I think there's a lot of fun coming in the fall. Just like the first half of the year, I think has been pretty good and been fun. Riyadh season, obviously, we have a big card this weekend, but there's also now October to look forward to, where you have Better Be Evan Bivol, and now you also have this potential Shakur Stevenson versus Zepeda fight. Really, really looking forward to it. Oh, same card. That is unbelievable. You see, that's my one criticism here for Turki Al-Sheikh. You probably make these into a couple of different cards. I don't particularly have a problem with it, but I think a lot of times the casuals, there's too much information having to be downloaded when you put too many big fights all on one show. For us, it's great, but I'd like for the casuals to be able to also be inundated by this.
Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. We're getting good fights. I mean, you said about Turki Al-Sheikh saying he puts his money where his mouth is. He puts his money where our eyes are, yeah. And that I truly appreciate.
When you look at this fight, Teddy, William Zepeda, of course, has to solve a riddle in Shakur Stevenson, who's an excellent boxer, very, very slick, hard to get to him. What would be your advice for William Zepeda on how to get to Shakur Stevenson, a guy who's been very elusive in the ring?
Not the way he's just plain been doing it. Not the cold naked, if you will, way that he's been doing it, where it's just been pressure, 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 body work. Sounds great, looks great. I get it. But against a guy as clever and advanced and skillful as Shakur, ain't gonna get it done. He's got to be more sophisticated than that. That's my concern. Yeah, I mean we're all happy. I mean, how can you not be happy? We love Zepeda. We love what he brings. We love his attitude. We love his style, his approach, all of it. I mean, how can you argue it? I'm not gonna go and rain on the parade there of people being excited, finally having something to hopefully be excited about. But my concern is the same as it was for Pacquiao Mayweather in a different way. Is it an oasis or is it a mirage? And it could very well. And again, I guess I am the guy who's going to rain on a parade a little tiny bit or a sprinkle. But I've lived in the world of reality in boxing for too many years, for 50 years. And I know that a guy like Zepeda, although, on paper and although in the videos that we've seen, and the level of guys that he's been beating, not top level, let's be honest here, but with the level of guys he's been beating, you get excited. I mean, again, it's how can you not be excited? He comes forward, he's tough, he gets to you, he imposes his will and his physicality on you, but you got to have more than that against a guy that is basically, can take you apart piece by piece, who lives and dies for that stuff. He's made a living off of guys who just come forward. So if I'm the trainer, if I'm in the training camp for Zepeda, to answer your question, Jimmy, I don't know if there's time to do it now, but I'm making sure that he's going to feint a little bit more. He's not just going to walk in on a straight line. He's going to get rid of some of that predictability. As aggressive as it is, it's not going to be effective aggression if it's predictable aggression. He'll be walking into counterpunches all night long. So, again, to answer your question, a little feint a little bit, draw the counters out of the way from Shakur a little prematurely. Step to the side, knock on the front door, slide to the side door. Don't come in on that straight line. And maybe most important, and most people out there are going to say, Teddy, most important is to go to the body. You got to get to him to go to the body. So the most important thing, use the jab, lower the sights on it to the chest of Shakur Stevenson, and use the jab just to stabilize him on the outside so he don't pick you apart and pot shot you all night long, where we're complaining afterwards, again, saying it was a mirage. It wasn't an oasis. I hope we don't get sand.
I don't think we will. I think it's going to be an excellent fight. We'll see. Once again, a verbal agreement. We'll see if it really happens. Let's transition from one Mexican fighter to another one fighting this weekend. Issac Pitbull Cruz, of course, taking on Jose Valenzuela. That's right, Turkey Al-Sheikh, another card by him in Los Angeles this weekend. Paulie, I want to start with you. We were discussing yesterday the it factor. Whatever it is, Esau Cruz has it. Fans love him in Mexico, in the United States. Tell me what he has that makes him so special.
From a boxing perspective, Esau Cruz is a very, very exciting fighter. I mean, I think when you watch him in the ring, he has the it factor inside the ring. He's got punching power. He likes to be in the pocket. He throws those punches short and then devastatingly. He's got a mean streak. He's entertaining. He chases the action. And he's capable. He's capable at world-class level. He's done damage at world-class level. Obviously, he's a world champion for that reason. For me, he's one of the more entertaining fighters of the sport. I don't know if he has the it factor outside the ring. Because honestly, I can't even remember him talking outside the ring. I haven't heard much of him outside the ring. So I'm not sure about that whole it factor outside the ring. But when we're talking about entertainment value inside the ring as a fighter, for the boxing fans, for the pugilist appreciative fans, this guy has that. He's a guy, he's one of my favorite fighters to watch in the sport today, because every time he gets in the ring, I can't see him putting up a bad fight. Even when he fought Gervonta Davis, I think he pushed Gervonta Davis more so than we've seen Gervonta Davis pushed. And then when he's winning in devastating fashion. Really, really was impressive in winning the title when he beat Rolando Romero. And Jose Valenzuela, honestly, a solid opponent, a guy who brings a lot of action to the table and likes to engage himself. This is gonna be a fun fight.
Talk about that a little bit, Chris. When you talk about that Mexican fan loyalty, this guy, Canelo Alvarez, getting a little bit older, and also the way he's had a business-minded approach to the sport has turned off a lot of hardcore Mexican fans. Esau Cruz, more of that Julio Cesar Chavez senior kind of mentality, quiet and he'll take on anyone. Does that loyalty mean something in the ring?
Well, that is the it factor that we're talking about. Yeah. He's lean, he's mean, his nickname is Pitbull, he comes to fight. The guy is ready to fight, he wants to fight everybody. He's got that mentality, he's like that high testosterone pitbull that's looking to just get at anybody. And people love that, especially the Mexican fans. So he's got that persona, he's got that look to him, and he's got the style that Mexican fans really like. But to what Paulie the Champ said, even at the world-class level, he's not just in there throwing punches and trading blows. He's got very good defense. It's hard to hit him clean. He stays very tight and compact. He comes forward. He's got that like Joe Frazier, Mike Tyson-esque approach where he's in there and he fights in the pocket really, really well, hits the body, hits the head, throws everything with bad intentions, keeps his head off line. He's a super fun to watch. I mean, it's almost like a no-frills approach. Anybody who's going to come in and watch, even a casual is going to watch him in there and they're going to be like, man, this guy can fight. I like this. I want to see this guy again, which is why I think we're getting so much crossover appeal. Yes, Mexican fans love him. Guess what? I think anybody who watches this guy is going to love the way that he fights. His style is a ton of fun. We just got to see him in there with the world-class level more time and time again.
Now, Teddy,
he's pretty much got it. Jimmy, yep. He's pretty much got everything. He's pretty much got everything when you look at something you're looking for from an entertainment value, look at him from when he's got the ring, except the neck. He's got no neck.
Well, that helps him.
Yes. That helps him. There's no head movement. Can't move his head. He's got no neck. Teddy, what do you think about this idea, the Mexican-style fighter, take three to give one? That hasn't been the case for a long time. We've seen some great boxer punchers coming out of Mexico. Is Issac Cruz another one of the greats in that regard to you?
No, I mean, didn't you listen to these two very, very smart young men just talk to you? He's more than that. Right. And they've explained it really well. He's not a catcher. He's just not a walk-in, hit me, I hit you. No. And that's, again, where's the complaint box? Because I have to put a complaint for coming in last again, always being the last one. When you have two really, really smart guys ahead of you, it's not good sometimes. And I was about to say, before Chris said it, that Cruz is a miniature version of Smoking Joe Frazier, bobbing, weaving, moving his head as he's coming at you. He's making a lot of those punches miss. If he was coming in on a straight line, like I think Zepeda might, he might, I don't know. But if he was coming in on a straight line, we wouldn't be talking about him right now because you'd already have more than the 2 losses that he's had to good fighters. He'd have 4, 5 losses. So he is not just that walk-in guy. He is not what we call Mexican style. And I don't know how we got to that. Yeah. I know there's been a lot of Mexicans that, they go to the body, they got the left hook, they're aggressive. We think about that. We think about their passion for the, the fans' passion for the sport and the fire that the Mexican fighters fight with, the pride and the nationality. Pride of nationality and, the history that they bring into the ring. But we've had some of the smartest fighters, Salvador Sanchez, that have been Mexican. So they don't all just walk in and take 2 to land 1 or take 3, as you said, to land 1. No, Cruz is the guy that he's moving his head. He's making you miss. He's coming forward. He's a lot of fun to watch. And he's a lot more developed in certain areas than he gets credit for. Otherwise, he would not be the problem that he is if he was that easy to hit.
We know what he can do thanks to you, gentlemen, but what do you want to see, Chris, come this fight Saturday? Developments. What do you want to see in this fight that makes you think he can be a star on that next level, not just when it comes to the fans, but also tactically in the ring? What kind of developments do you want to see out of him?
Honestly, I don't know how much development we're going to see with an opponent like Valenzuela across the ring from him. It's going to be a shootout. Valenzuela's the kind of guy, man, he likes to get in there. He's a very dangerous puncher. He's a sharpshooter himself. When he finds those gaps, he sees those shots, he takes them, and he delivers nice power. The fight with De Los Santos, it was back and forth. They were dropping each other, hurting each other. Valenzuela is a very, very dangerous guy, especially early on. He's going to be in great shape coming from this fight. We keep seeing clips and videos of him in camp. He's very, very confident. He's feeling good. he's a live dog. You know, he's the underdog in this fight. I'm sure on the betting line he will be, but he's very, very live, dangerous puncher, sharpshooter himself. I really suspect this fight's going to be a shootout. I don't know how much we're going to get to see of Esau Cruz in terms of his development, like you're asking, Jimmy. I think we're going to end up seeing a shootout for as long as it lasts, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
You see the odds there. Cruz minus 400 in this fight so far. But another thing you saw in that face-off, Paulie, is Valenzuela, 5'10", a lot taller than Issac Cruz. Is that going to be a factor in the fight to you?
You know, you would look at their frame and you say, you know what, you expect Valenzuela to try to box on the outside and whatnot. And I do think he has some of that ability. But Valenzuela has also got that fiery spirit, fiery temperament. I don't even want to call it undisciplined because you can almost appreciate it because it always entertains when a fighter has that. But at times you do gotta call it undisciplined because if that's your temperament in this fight, you kind of gotta fight that will to want to be in that kind of fiery exchange and that kind of fight with Pitbull Cruz, because Pitbull Cruz we saw had a lot of trouble with Giovanni Cabrera. And Cabrera is a guy who knows how to move around, but Cabrera just didn't engage enough. The problem with Valenzuela, he's the opposite. He has a similar frame, but sometimes he engages too much and believes himself exposed too much because he's trying to get off his own firepower. So he's fun, but I think there needs to be a balance there. You can't do it to the point where it's like Cabrera, but you do need a little bit of what Valenzuela does naturally, just not all of what Valenzuela does naturally. Does he have the mental discipline to say that in between, especially when you have a world-class fighter like Cruz bringing it to you, cutting off the ring, putting that mental pressure on you? I find it a little bit difficult to see. I think this fight kind of falls into winds up in the mud. Both guys get dirty and winds up as a shootout.
Your thoughts on that, Teddy? When it comes to this card, you have Terrence Crawford, Israel Madrimov as your main event. Terrence Crawford, a chess player in there, a scientist. This could be that fan-friendly fight. How important is that to the fans and to the card itself?
It's always important to boxing. You kidding me? I mean, that's why Turkey Al-Sheikh he's the face of boxing right now. We're going to be straight about it. It's not Canelo, it's him. He has made boxing more relative than it's been for a long time because we, the fans, were not getting what they wanted. They were not getting the fights, the competitive fights with the best versus the best that they wanted. They were getting the A guy from a promoter, whoever the promoter was, they were getting the A side against the B or the C side to keep the A side undefeated, to build it up on their network, to continue making money in that kind of way and not caring about what it did to the sport and how the fans reacted to it. So yeah, it always matters to deliver, the kind of fight that the fans are chopping at the bit for and hoping to get, an exciting fight. And at the end of the day, I see what Paulie's saying. Sometimes these kind of fights with a guy coming forward, guy a little taller who's going to try to obviously catch him coming in, sometimes that can devolve into where there winds up being a lot of grabbing on the inside. And that's where you need a good ref. You need a good ref to make a good fight. It's part of it. But at the end of the day, I think this will deliver because Valenzuela, as Chris said, as both of them talked about, Valenzuela is in a good place now mentally, the best place he's been. He's caught the knockout of the year. For me, against Carrington, knockout of the year. He's in a real good place. He's very confident right now. He's a guy he's gotten a little more seasoning. He's matured a little bit. He is a good puncher, as Chris said. If I have anything to do with his corner or the camp, you know what I'm telling him? I'm telling him, hey, go out there, set your feet. You want to control range. You know the other guy where he's coming. He's coming to you. So set your feet, be ready. And when he comes in there, maybe reaching a little bit because you're a little taller, draw a line in the sand. Draw a line in the canvas where before he gets into his punching range, you get off the shots at your punching range. You have about 6-7 inch advantage where you're safe. You have the edge. You can catch him before he gets close enough to catch you. Set yourself when he gets into that range and he starts to launch. Throw as straight as you can, straight right hand with a short left hook behind it. In other words, try to catch him before he gets into that range, that danger range where he can be the man. If he does that with his punching power, with his reach, with his height, with all of that, he's got a chance to really test Cruz in a way where, we know he's shown a good chin. He's got great motor. He's got great heart. But if he can catch it, Cruz is the kind of guy you could only beat one of two ways. Either you're on the outside like a Shakur Stevenson, and you can control range, you can move, you can pop, move to the side, pot shot, move, and keep him off balance all night. It's not easy to do that, mentally or physically, to sustain that. You either got to do that or you got to hurt the guy. I think Valenzuela knows what his way has to be. He's got to hurt the guy.
Chris, you look at these dream matchups. Teddy said it, Turki Al-Sheikh right now the face of boxing. Gervonta Davis now without an opponent. Shakur Stevenson verbally agreeing to fight William Zepeda. We'll see if that happens. But a rematch, Issac Pitbull Cruz, of course, versus Tank Davis. Should he win August 3rd? What do you think the likelihood that gets put together?
Well, I mean, there are different weight classes now. So that first fight was at 135, and Issac Pitbull Cruz is now campaigning at 140. His title is there. This fight is being campaigned at 140, which actually, Paulie and I were talking about this off air. I mean, it really is two lightweights fighting in this fight. Valenzuela is a former lightweight. Issac Cruz is a former lightweight. They're fighting at 140 because Issac Cruz has that 140-pound title that he wrested from Rollies. So in terms of them having the rematch, it's not impossible, but I think there's a lot of opportunities for Issac Cruz up at 140. I mean, he looked great in his last fight, obviously against Rollies, and depending on how he looks come Saturday night, there's probably a good chance that he stays there and tries to deal with the other titleists there, try to collect those other belts if that's possible. But in terms of Gervonta Davis, Tank, I don't see Tank moving up to 140, especially to fight a guy like Issac Cruz, who's as tough and as good as he is, who gave him trouble that first fight. But in terms of going backwards to go back down, it's possible. There's enough money involved, sure.
I got an idea. What has Denwood De Los Santos done since the Shakur Stevenson fight?
Not a thing.
Not a thing. All right, well, you know what? If De Los Santos gets a win, we can go fight De Los Santos, right? I mean, the level of opposition that Gervonta Davis has been facing, Frank Martin was a really a favorite opponent of mine because I really rated Frank Martin, and so the performance against Frank Martin really elevates Gervonta Davis to me. But otherwise, he's at times fighting levels of opposition that's so-so. So Edwin De Los Santos isn't really a guy that you could say, oh my goodness, why would he fight De Los Santos? He also complained about the way Shakur looked against Edwin De Los Santos. I say
De Los Santos also beat Valenzuela.
Yeah, and you know he did beat Valenzuela. So you know what? I say we're looking for an opponent for Gervonta Davis. Let's make Gervonta Davis Edwin De Los Santos.
Malinaji matchmaker, I like that.
A great matchmaker, but I got to ask you, Coach, should he continue to campaign at 140 and should he win August 3rd? Do you think there are big names at 140 for Issac Cruz? What would you like to see him do next should he win?
There's someone named Teofimo Lopez out there, isn't there? That he's pretty damn good. He's pretty damn talented, right? At one time, he was on top of the mountain. He was on top of the hill. We were all talking about him when he beat Lomachenko, where he wasn't really expected to be ready at that point to beat Lomachenko, and he did. And then, look, things have gone a little sideways for him, up and down. He has really been the epitome of a roller coaster, where sometimes that talent shows where you're like, wow, Teofimo, wow. And then other times you're like, wait a minute, is it that we overrated him? Or is it just that he has trouble getting up for guys that in his mind aren't quite that level of guy, and he fights down to his opposition? Well, guess what? I came up with something here. That fight with Teofimo, Cruz and Teofimo, that will answer that question for us. It'll give us that answer. Is Teofimo as good as we thought he was, or is he overrated? So that's the fight I would look for. That's one of the ones I look for. And if Tank Davis stayed at lightweight and he needed another one, how about, I remember this was a law firm a while ago, how about Davis and Davis? I wouldn't mind seeing that. Keyshawn Davis and Tank Davis. Is it too soon for Keyshawn? When you've had 200 amateur fights and you've looked as good as he's looked and as confident as he seems to be, I don't think so. Other people in the history of this sport have done such things. Anyway, just a couple thoughts there. Well, I'm sitting out of Florida, You know, I'm not down there in the Sunshine State. I'm in New York.
You're doing great matchmaking. That's what we love about you, Teddy. We love about you too, Paul. You got great matchmakers here at ProBox TV. Speaking of, check us out tomorrow night. That's right, get the app. ProBox TV will be in Plant City calling the fights. Enjoy the fights and your weekend. We'll see you next time.
Wednesday Night Fights.
Dynamite action on Wednesday Night Fights every other Wednesday on your boxing channel.
Coming up on your next Wednesday Night Fights, July 31st, ProBox veterans Alberto Palmetta and Jesus Sriracha return to battle it out in the main event. Live from the ProBox Event Center in Plant City. Get your tickets at proboxtv.com or take your chances at the door. Wednesday Night Fights.
For more ProBox TV, scan the QR code on the screen or go to the App Store and Google Play. ProBox TV, your boxing channel.